be educated, but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to before.
Hello, and welcome back to the Clinically Average Podcast. I'm Wolf, and here with me is Patrick.
It's me.
We're back at it.
Like a bad habit.
Ooh, back at it like a crack addict. Is that Killer Mike?
Yeah.
Off in the context of Run the Jewels, I believe, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, another day, another episode. Another week, another episode.
Another day, another dollar.
New episodes coming every
Wednesday.
And where do you find them?
WDVE.
WDVE. We're going to get copyrighted on that. New episodes coming every Wednesday, and you're going to find those on Spotify oh no, we messed that up because we got to do this first. New episodes coming every Wednesday at the clinicallyaveragepodcast.com. That's where
Better be watching the video.
can you watch the videos there? The videos are on the blogs, right?
I'm just saying, as we're doing these motions.
These motions.
They don't know what we're doing if we're not watching.
I'm swooping in the words right here.
It's like
At
magic.
clinicallyaveragepodcast.com. That's where you're going to find all the blog posts that we have for the coordinated podcast episodes that we put out. You can listen to the podcast and or watch them on spotify.com/we-rule. But you're going to have to search Clinically Average Podcast.
Yeah.
YouTube.com /at Clinically Average Podcast, or just search Clinically Average. You'll find it. You're a genius. You're smarter than me. You're better at search terms.
Big brains.
Instagram at clinically_average_podcast.
Don't forget the underscore.
Do not forget the underscore.
Pray to God you don't forget the underscore.
God. But if you go ahead and follow us on Instagram, you're going to get updated with everything you need to know. Most major posts, information, pictures, links to everything is going to be there. That's a good one to follow.
That's a good one to follow.
Another good one to follow is our TikTok at clinically_average.
Nothing but hot fire on there.
Oh, that's gas. Straight gas
No
on
breaks.
the TikTok. All gas, no breaks. And some unique content because sometimes it won't share over the Instagram.
Too big for Instagram.
Big.
Real big.
Real big.
Too hot for TV.
And then if you still use Facebook, which pretty much all of us do, well, maybe not the younger
It's a
generation.
necessary evil.
But if it's necessarily evil for you, Clinically Average Podcast, follow the page there.
I feel like I'm still doing the DVE voice and I can't stop.
Are we going to do the whole podcast in
I
WDV?
just feel like my voice is projecting deeper than usual.
Well, it might.
Or I have a cold. I don't know.
I don't know if doing WWE. You can do WWE voice for this topic, but WDVE might not work so well with male vulnerability.
Sad men.
Sad men doing sad shit. Sad cowboy music.
That's right.
So, what is male vulnerability?
I don't know. This is a complicated topic. How about we start with some, I guess, why we're talking about it?
Okay.
So this is like definitely something I wanted to. This is one of the topics that was stirring around way before we even started this podcast. Kind of like narcissism, where it's like that's kind of the inspiring idea, but didn't know if it was like kind of quite ready to talk about it.
It's kind of like it's a newer trend. People are starting to talk about it, but it seems like we need to hone it in.
I wanted to collect more data.
Ooh, the data.
The data.
The data.
Wanted to. 'Cause it's definitely something like there's definitely a topic of discussion pretty frequently online nowadays, talking about like men's mental health, and I think for good reason. With some stats I'm laying out here, it's like the leading cause of death for men in America
Yeah.
is suicide.
Yeah, that's not fun.
And some specific numbers, it's at a 2.6% increase since 2021. Men are reported to commit suicide 3.9 times more than women, which, as I say, not a competition, obviously, but worth noting. There are 132 suicides reported a day. That's 48,180 a year, with an added 1.7 million with an M suicide attempts a year.
Are those numbers are male?
Male. This is all male
Okay,
stats.
they're male statistics for that.
And they're up 3. So take those numbers, 3.9 times more than women.
Okay. So not to discredit any attempts or completions. That is something. Now that we're on the topic, real quick, it's complete suicide, not commit suicide, because you're taking power away from that person. Plenty of people attempt or commit to it, If you do it, you
Well, yeah,
commit
that's what I
to
mean.
it.
Like added the attempts in there. Yeah,
So
1.7 million attempts.
So 132 people, 132 men a day complete suicide.
Yes.
That's insane. That's just, is that U.S., male U.S.?
Yeah, U.S.
Okay.
These are the U.S. numbers.
That's insane.
Yeah, there's no other way
I
to
don't like that.
put that.
The increase, the 2.6% increase since 2021, what's the reference point on that? Like, it's up in 2 years, well, I guess 3 years now. We're in 2024.
We're going into 2024.
But
so
we're
yeah.
still looking at the 132 a day, 48K
Well,
a year.
I guess these would be the 2022 numbers I was reporting.
Okay.
Because that's from 2021.
Okay.
And it's been going up year over year.
So
The numbers are
Steady
higher
incline.
from what I'm saying there.
steady incline on this.
It's been an incline for the last 5 decades.
That's not good. That's bad.
So it's like, it's trying to figure out like what's causing that. So this is always, I feel like a touchier subject than it needs to be. It's kind of also why this is like a tough thing to be vulnerable about, is people don't really want to hear men whine about their problems
No,
culturally. Even a lot of men don't want to hear men whine about their problems. That's what also makes it kind of complicated.
like culturally in society, we still have. I don't even want to say lingering effects because it's still full on. It's just no, boys don't cry. Shut up, rub some dirt on it, get on with your day.
Suppress, be stoic, and
Just bottle that all up in.
stoic in the toxic sense.
Just bottle it up and push it way down deep in your gut, and then let it explode at a little league or your son's little league game on another dad.
Yeah, go fight the bat dad.
Please don't do that. It's not a healthy coping mechanism. It's just what happens.
I guess that South Park episode was very ahead of the curve. That's the only way Randy could get an outlet was to fight other dads at little league games.
Yeah, like you just see explosions in rage and anger, and just because that's what it is. It's
a buildup.
It's a buildup. It's people not being able to talk about these things or express these things or have someone to fucking listen to them.
I mean, I think we've mentioned different times in these podcasts the stats for men in particular. Like, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it's a high percentage of men who would report in surveys they don't even have one single best friend they can go vent to.
Right.
Which is insane. Like having even one person in your life that you can just go dump your shit on is, at this
Rare.
point, statistically proven
Statistically
to help
rare.
your mental health.
Is it? And we're saying that's statistically rare now.
For men,
Wow.
for a huge portion of men of all ages, having someone they can and
Confide in.
confide in and not feel like judged or, made to feel weak or less than.
We need to start a revolution of brotherhood here.
I mean,
Maybe we'll do an episode.
a lot of people are trying that. But I do want to preface this podcast the way I do in the blog, where it's like, okay, so we're talking about men's vulnerability.
Yes.
As you can see or hear, we are two he-hims.
He, hims, his.
Yeah. And so we can most objectively speak from our perspectives.
Yes.
I try my best to always be, I feel like I've done a good job in these podcasts, trying to look at things from both sides of the fence. Male perspectives, female perspectives. Any chance I can get to get a female perspective, I try.
Yeah.
Even with this topic, I've definitely sourced some info from women and their opinions on it. So it's something I always try and get both of. So, but when you're speaking of this, there's going to be generalities made.
Right.
And people don't like generalities, especially on the internet. People don't like when you talk about statistics and averages, and then those averages and statistics don't apply to them. So then they make the assumption
They just discredit
that I'm
all the
like picking
information.
sides. So like I make the point here, like if I make a generality that's like, oh, women think this way more than men, and you're a woman listening, like, I don't think that way. Congratulations, you're an outlier. Statistics and averages are, taking over the average means of people.
Mean median mode.
But there's women who have higher levels of masculinity, and there are men who have higher levels of femininity. You take into account different characteristic quirks, personality traits, your nature versus nurture. This blend of cocktails we've been talking about for episodes and episodes that make you a unique individual, but you still fit into averages. You still fit into labels and categories.
Everybody fits into statistics somewhere.
But like if these don't apply to you, just hey, I'm an outlier. That's not me. and we'll go from there.
But I think
But it's not meant to be an insulting
it's not
generalization.
insulting, but the point is, this is the information. If you don't fit into the statistic, fine. But it is a statistic for a reason, because a majority of people do. Mm-hmm. And this is the information we're working with.
Yes.
So it's not trying to red pill the fuck your feelings, facts over feelings, fuck your unique individual experience. No, that's fine.
But take it into context.
Take into context.
And the intent that it's being, portrayed.
Yeah. So we don't have to do that 5-minute rant.
Yeah, I don't have to do that the whole time.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff.
That shit gets so tedious when I have to make a caveat before every statement. Like, not including these people, but also including this. It's like,
We're working with statistical averages here.
yes. So, yeah, with that being said, we'll get into, boys don't cry.
Boys don't cry. Boys don't have feelings. Boys have muscles.
And that's been the overwhelming cultural norm almost for forever. Since there's been agriculture and culture as a whole and civilization.
Even before agriculture.
Yeah.
Hunter-gathering tribes. It was the men's job to provide food and safety.
But then there was a whole lot less emotional turmoil in those days to give you reasons to cry about. You had very simple tasks.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
You wake up every day. I'm going to go hunt. You take care of the kid. We're not going to question it. There's no cultural impact on this.
Okay. So we'll start at agriculture.
Yeah. When civilization started, we'll start there. Because comparing us to tribal people is like almost not even worth it at this point.
It could be a tribal.
The only thing that really matters is that we do have a lot of biology from that time.
Yes.
That still affects us in ways we kind of don't want to admit.
It has helped shape our cultures.
And I think that plays into some of these male-female dynamics that a lot of us don't want to admit because it goes against cultural norms that our biology might make us wired to do certain things.
Sex at Dawn's a good book to read about that.
Yeah. Evolutionary biology as a whole is very interesting when you read about that kind of stuff. But one of the things about crying is that if you have a function, that means it got here for evolutionary reasons. It serves a purpose.
Yeah.
Like, why do we cry? It's soothing. It releases two of the happy emotions. You think of crying, you think of sadness.
Yeah.
But really, when you cry because you're sad, that's your body releasing oxytocin and endorphins into your body. That's why you feel better afterwards.
Is this crying as like a teen adult? Because isn't crying for an infant is a communication factor?
For infants, it can mean a lot. It's self-soothing, and it can be an alert thing, like, oh, I need help.
Okay, so there are aspects of crying,
Which, in a way, that's the same for adults. It doesn't really change.
Okay.
An adult person crying is self-soothing, but also it's a cry for help in most cases.
Okay, a literal cry for help.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you feel better afterwards because your body releases these chemicals to make you feel better afterwards. Like you're purging these bad emotions and replacing it with good emotions.
So we as humans have this function. It's not a bug.
Yeah.
It is a function with a purpose.
Yeah.
It needs to be explored and doesn't need to be resented, bottled up, and ignored.
Yeah. And statistics across all countries and cultures report women cry more than men.
Fair.
So I posit the question, why should women be allowed to use these mood-hacking mood stabilizers that we naturally have, but men are just supposed to, no, I'm not going to do that.
Because boys are tough.
Boys don't cry.
Boys don't cry. Boys aren't allowed to cry.
It's just the idea is like, we have a tool in our arsenal that we aren't allowed to use because culture dictates that it's weak.
Yeah, outside of culture, society, there is no good reason why we don't use that function.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like it's culture and biology clashing.
So you need to be doing this. You need to be utilizing this function of the human experience, yet societal and culture standards like, no, don't.
Yeah.
No,
Your biology is
it
telling
makes
you
you
have a
weak.
buildup of emotions you need to purge and you're suffering. If you're bottling in emotions that require you to cry, you're spiking bad chemicals in your body, like cortisol responses, stress hormones, all these kind of things, which will lead to then you're suppressing. That doesn't go away. The body keeps count.
Yeah.
Like
it's not that you suppress it, get over it, and it goes away.
no, it never goes away. It stays in there and it festers and it fucking rots.
Festers, rots, and it's a lingering, lingering and lasting effect.
And the more you suppress, which men do, that's why you said earlier about you see these big blow-ups. You see a man show emotion when he's past his end of his rope.
There's no more room in the bottle to bottle it up.
It's been being bottled for quite some time. If a man is exploding.
And then everything comes out at once.
That was something that needed to come out a long time ago. Like I said here, like people, like I would posit that men need to cry more or they need to cry sooner.
Okay.
Because it's almost like you wait till the last minute to then start showing your emotions.
So, okay, yeah. Can you expand on the sooner?
Because it seems like if men don't get these emotions out, it leads to a very bad route, which ends in their death.
Okay. So the sooner is just like instead of
Waiting till your whole life
having-
is collapsing and you're having a full-on mental breakdown.
then you have one giant cry that's very catastrophic instead of instead of having one cry when you need to get it out then. And isn't that like the general consensus is just like, oh, women don't get as worked up as often because this is definitely a comedy skit I heard somewhere. It's just like, because something will happen, a woman to a woman, she'll cry, get it out then, and then you're fine. But no, men will just
Well, I would say
pack it
that
in,
women have these
pack
emotional
it in.
responses more often then. It's just they get it out.
Yeah. They get it out now in a small dosage.
Where men try and shoulder the weight, just stuff it down, carry the weight.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about this. Whereas women still go, yeah, she'll call her girlfriend or like, go cry, or they can cry in front of their man. That's okay. That's culturally acceptable.
But for a man to cry in front of his woman,
Complicated.
complicated.
Can't say you can't do it. It is a complicated issue. And that's something we will definitely be getting into in this, like, crying in front of a man, crying in front of a woman. Yay, nay, I don't know. It's a complicated one. And I think that might be a divisive topic.
So men are expected to suppress their emotions, but we're not supposed to. It's biological and physiological feature function that we need to be utilizing.
Mm-hmm.
So then why do I don't know, what am I trying to ask here? Why do we abide by these cultural norms? Why can't we have a level of acceptance to use this in a healthy and rational way?
Well, I would say, like, even if you can debate biologically how we worked in a hierarchy, but historically, men, not even when it comes to women, men are naturally competitive, even amongst their allies.
Sure.
Like a group of friends, male friends,
Extremely
they're still
competitive.
It's not like we're all for one for all.
We can't go get sushi without it turning into a
competition.
grotesque competition.
Who can eat more?
Who can eat the most sushi rolls? Who's
Yeah.
the alpha male?
Yeah, like it always escalates.
Every time.
And it's like a thing where especially like crying is for men and women seen as a sign of weakness. And if you're with competitive people, like you are pretty much showing your belly. You are showing potential sign of weakness, which would then signals to other men that you are more easily taken advantage of. Like if you're like like a lion with the pride, like the head lion, starts to show weakness, the next alpha male is going to challenge him.
Yeah.
For his resources. If you are showing weakness, that the competitive males,
Because the alpha in the pack or the society gets the prime choice of resources, and whether
stronger
that's
men have more choices of resources, mate selection, all these things. And if they show weakness, someone can think that gives another man a chance to maybe take advantage. Even amongst friends, people do these things. Men get inherently competitive with their friends. They get jealous. They it is inherently competitive. You don't want to admit it, but a lot of times, if your male friend group, like one of them gets a big good job, a raise, like you want your friends to all be like just like congratulate you and be like, yeah, good for you. But a lot of men report like they do feel inadequate and they do feel jealous.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh fuck, like Chad's doing so well for himself, and I'm here doing this. Like it's just like you don't want to be like that, but we have a natural disposition to be competitive.
to feel that way.
Like we feel emasculated even when our male friend is doing better. Like you're happy for him, but it's like fuck. Now I feel weak.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm lower on the totem pole.
Why can't I do that?
Now I have less resources and I have less mate selection.
Why am I not worth X amount of dollars a year? Why am I only worth this amount of dollars and he's worth this amount of dollars?
So then it makes that hard for like men to trust being vulnerable with one another, because to be vulnerable with your male friends, you are in a way telling them your weaknesses.
Okay.
You're being vulnerable.
And I don't want to disclose any secrets that can be taken advantage of.
Yeah. So it is like hardwired in us to like keep that shit to ourselves.
I don't like that.
So it makes it so about women like being able to like go cry it out with their female friends. And I think men are trying as a culture to get better about this. The younger generations, there's definitely a big movement online, to like really get to know your male friends, have a brotherhood, have people you can trust. And I think that comes down to like, we've talked about the concept of like lower companions.
Yeah.
Like you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Right.
So I think a lot of that has to do with where you're at mentally and like spiritually, all these kind of things. If you're like gravitating towards people who are of similar mindsets of you, you're going to find like your brotherhood or your tribe of people who are going to be less likely to try and, be all Machiavellianist and take advantage of you.
Right. And that comes
But when you're with lower companions, people who are kind of like, we've all had it. We have bad ex-friends from our past.
Yeah.
Who are, like take advantage of you. They're like mooches. They
use you for your resources.
They use you for your resources. Then when you need them, the chips are down. They don't turn around and help you because now they're above you.
Yeah. Well, I don't have time to be dragged down and helping you.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
I gotta hustle. I gotta get my shit.
Sorry.
Sorted out. Like we've all had those experiences with like very two-faced friends.
So you're saying whenever you're working with higher level companions, well, it's like because everyone individually has more of their own needs met.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have the like physical time,
Maslow's hierarchy of needs we keep bringing
and
up.
emotional space to, because all those hierarchy of needs are being met.
You're less insecure.
So they have more wiggle room to help out with someone.
It's the same concept we talked about before with like romantic relationships also. I think once you quit dating toxic people or people who are like fixing or doing anything like that, you become more attracted to people who are on a similar wavelength as you. Mm-hmm. And I think that applies to platonic friendship relationships also.
Sure.
Once you quit being insecure and quit being in like one-sided friendships, people will gravitate towards you who are of similar wavelengths. And then there's less backstabbing and like, because they're taken care of. They're taking care of themselves. They're good.
Yeah.
I don't need to take away from my friend. He's doing good. I want him to do well for himself as I do well for myself. There's no like hierarchy or there's no vertical relationships. It's all horizontal.
It becomes less like competitive or it's not, I don't want to say symbiotic, but it's just one good hand helping another. It's just the rising tides. Like we're already at a good baseline. Well, we don't need to stress that evil on each other. We can all help each other grow.
Which this comes down to picking how important it is to pick people around you. And so I guess we could use that as like this is definitely going out of order from like what the blog went, but like I'm trying to keep here, but like but this kind of ties in so directly the analogy. I don't want to lose this train of thought. So if you're picking your friends in this way,
mm-hmm.
if you got backstabbed or treated like shit by friends in the past, had one-sided relationships, it's because you were picking the wrong people.
Right.
You weren't being wrong to think you could be open and honest with your friends. It's just these friends' morals were questionable, and there's maybe a difference in where you guys were at in life.
Right.
So that brings on, we asked the question like about, can men cry in front of women?
Sometimes.
Depends on all those things I just said about you, like,
Depends on all those factors as well as the other person and all their elements and characteristics.
Yes.
And their emotional
It has a lot to do with
presets.
personal security. So, and like, this is a very complicated thing, so I guess we'll dig into this. Twofold. So the one topic I break down is called the male canon event.
Yeah.
I bring up, which is a term thrown on the internet that men use, and it makes men kind of go one of two ways after this event. And like I said in here, it happens to women too. I have seen women have this male canon event.
Oh, I love this idea. I love this arc.
So I don't have to even like gender it, I don't think. Just here's a canon event that happens in relationships. Mm-hmm. And then you are kind of changed afterwards. You kind of have a choice of how you approach going afterwards.
We are faced with a transition of dead time into a lifetime.
It kind of is. It puts you into that a lifetime dead time.
You're about to, something happens. Now you're starting your canon event, which is a version of a lifetime. But all right, how do we move into this a lifetime. How do we move into this canon
But
event?
the canon event that would put you in this is essentially sacrificing everything for someone at their lowest point just for them to turn around and leave you when you're at your lowest point. You can apply it to the friend thing.
Yeah.
So, like I
Well-
said, I've seen both men and women be in this like sacrificing position. They're giving everything for someone, and then once the chips are down for them, that person bails.
The one analogy that I see, and it's not this is a misogynistic take. It's just an observation made. I've seen it a few times in my life and my friends' lives. It's just you get with somebody and you're with this partner, and you build them up and you give them self-worth and you help them see who they are. And
I said this can be male, female.
yeah,
Doesn't have to be
and-
gendered.
No, but
I've seen it in both ways.
yeah, but two people in a relationship, and the one builds you up, makes you feel confident, shows you your self-worth, makes you feel like you are somebody. And then that person who's just built up is like, it seems like they get this train of thought, and it's just like, yeah, you know what? I am a good person. I am worthy. I do deserve A, B, and C. Thanks for showing me all this. I'm going to go be worthy with the dude from work.
I've realized I deserve better than
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I do deserve better than you. Thank you for showing me all this. I'm going to go be better with this dude I've been talking to at work.
And when that happens to somebody, it's catastrophic. To them.
God, that sucks.
Like that puts people out for a long time.
It's like, because you put time, effort, and resources into a person that, you love and you care about and you want to see be better and have them realize that they are worth something.
Or reciprocate.
And
then
reciprocate
they get-
it,
But,
and they
but when
just-
you're down, it's like, ew,
Ew, what are you doing?
get your shit together. All right.
Ew. Yeah.
And what this does, I said, it sets men, since we're in the men, in two paths. Either they, in one scenario, they're just broken. They go off, they take that attitude in, and then usually, like I said, a woman scoops that guy up, and then she has her canon event. Because she's trying to pick that man up
She builds
who
him
was
back up.
destroyed by the previous relationship, and then he gets back on his feet, and then he breaks her heart because he's like, oh, I can do better now. I'm not, oh, thanks for fixing my wing. I'm ready to go fly.
I can do better than you.
Thank you for nursing me back to health.
Yeah.
But I'm done. And now we have men and women who've had this happen to them, and then they go in looking for relationships, and they just can't let their walls down. Because, like, God, you're looking for every red flag. Has this guy got all of his shit together? Because if he has one thing not in order,
I'm out. I'm not doing this
I'm
again.
not doing this baby and shit. I'm not
I'm
being
not
mom or
doing
daddy to this person.
Do you think, kind of like with we were a little off topic, but the third love theory, do you think people need to go through something like this?
Kind of. I think you need perspective, and that gives you, but it's like, it depends on the person. Because I say here, like, some people, they just go down that rabbit hole, they become victims. They never want to get out of that. It's just like that person
Could
destroys
crush
them.
them, destroy them. What's the other path?
The other path is you do some soul searching,
Get the perspective.
get some perspectives. Like for me, I have my own personal anecdote. Like that's a recent thing that happened to me, and like talking to different friends of mine that had this almost exact scenario happen. And I feel like if you talk to most people, they've had more than one relationship, have been married for 40 years. They've had this kind of scenario take place, male or female, but just I'm in the male headspace.
Yeah.
But so I remember I had this moment in a relationship where it was kind of this kind of thing. I'm giving everything. I am like losing myself in this relationship to the point where I am like pouring myself into it, trying to be stoic, cool, calm, collected, do everything right.
Keep a safe and stable environment.
I'm stable. I'm going to be a stable presence. I'm safe. I'm all these things. I'm doing all this shit.
Right.
Eventually that shit gets exhausting when you feel like the other person is like not helping, and like it's just like maybe in some cases even self-sabotaging or sabotaging the relationship.
Can't
And you
be
get
perfect.
worn down.
Can't be
Like,
perfect
and
24/7.
But like, this was going on for a long period of time. I was like, okay. And I kind of just went through a depression. Like it just kind of finally, I burn out. I was in a burnout phase. And I remember the moment, like I remember I've told you this story before countless times probably, but like I said, this is going to be probably burned in my brain till I'm like on my deathbed because it just hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I remember coming from work and I was just stressed out. And I go put my coffee on, routine, and my partner comes home and I'm just kind of drinking my coffee, 1,000 yards staring out the window, and just kind of zoned out, disassociating.
Yeah.
And she comes to me and is just visibly uncomfortable by the scene she has walked home on.
Right.
And I remember it just She's like, I know what I'm saying is, hypocritical.
The double standard.
There's a double standard here. But seeing you like this, it doesn't work this way. This doesn't go both ways. I love and appreciate everything you do for me and how much you take care of me and how much you look after me. But this does not go two ways. I can't look at you like this. And I can't do for you what you do for me. So basically saying, I can't be responsible for your emotions the way you're responsible for my emotions. You have to get your shit together, or I can't get my shit together.
So, like, this person just put it on you that you have to set the standard and keep the
You're
standard.
a statue.
You're a statue.
You are a stoic statue. You do not get to cry.
Just do it.
And this is where I get into the thing. I said, I made the realization afterwards, like, okay, it's not that I can't cry or be emotional in front of a woman. Wrong time, wrong situation.
Yes.
Silver lining, I don't have to bottle that up for the rest of my life.
No. if you're with someone who can't handle or reciprocate that emotional support, not the right person.
Yes.
Not the right compatibility.
So it's like it sucks in the moment, and you think, oh wow, that's so cruel. But some of these men take that and apply that to every woman. Never cry in front of a woman. Never open up emotionally in front of a woman because they'll do that. Like, no, that woman did that.
Yeah, that person.
But there's a lot of context I can do to psychoanalyze why that person would be incapable of handling your emotions. Like a person who is emotionally stable and has all their stuff together and is more secure is going to understand, oh, you're worn out.
That inability for that person to
does not reflect on you.
Does not reflect on you.
Or on women as a whole.
That is that is not a reflection on women as a whole. That is not reflective of men as a whole. That is not reflective of you as a person. That is a flaw in their character sheet that they still need to do a canon event, and they need to get some perspective, and they need to figure out.
They need to have it happen to them.
That is their flaw. That is their flaw, and that is their journey to figure out and fix.
Yep.
That isn't because you have to be able to be emotionally vulnerable with a partner.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that.
Yeah. I think male, female, you should.
But it bounces back and forth. But that's the other thing. It can't be weighed on one way the whole time.
It's a one-sided relationship, and being one-sided in almost any aspect is eventually going to lead to a collapse.
Yeah, professional, romantic.
You're weighing it down.
Friendship, yeah, anything.
I feel like that should get into the topic of, since we're talking about emotional vulnerability, and why I think situations like that happen. And this is going to be one where I say, I think this is inherently a male problem. That one there, I think, can go both ways. But I think something that men deal with that is unique to them in these situations is, I feel like maybe you can attest to this. I feel like just from talking to people, our generation in particular was raised. Here we heard women constantly saying, whether it be like our mothers or like older women in our lives or just women, our peers, saying they wish their man could be more open.
Yeah, my
could
entire
be more
life.
vulnerable because like they grew up around repressed men.
My entire life I've heard, I wish so-and-so or wish I could find a man who's more in touch with his emotions.
I wish men could be more vulnerable. I wish he would talk to me and open up about his problems.
I wish he would cry in front of me.
Yes,
Shit
I've
like
even
that.
heard people say, yeah, I wish I mean, the person I described there when we got together, literally, that's what they said.
Like, I wish.
One time I was encouraged to cry, like early on in the relationship where it was like, she could see that it was welling up. And it was like, yeah, no, let it out. I can see that it's in there. But then for like a year later, for that to be like off-putting, it's like, oh, you kind of made it seem like that's okay.
Yeah, you set the standard that's okay. That's
Like this is not going to dry me up and make me hate you.
that is a basic human function that has a purpose.
And I see why you're
Utilize
upset, and
it.
it makes sense. There's context.
Utilize it.
I'd be upset too. What was I saying? Yeah. So we've kind of think as a males in our generation in particular grew up with that narrative.
Boys don't cry, but I would like a boy to cry.
So we compare ourselves to the previous generation of men, like Gen X and the Boomers and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, very just like straight and narrow,
Hard
obviously
stoic.
Repressed. You can see the anger
Hard
seething underneath them.
Hard repressed stoic
Take
energy.
anyone from like the age of like 40 and up.
Yeah.
Go pull a man aside, just look at him. Me, in particular, you can just see the rage burning like a furnace in their stomach.
Something there.
There's something there. There's a lot of stuff burning and churning in there. They've been repressing for a long time.
It's-
So we saw. So like I think a lot of our generation went too soft in some cases.
Okay.
So we saw. Like, I think our interpretation of that was okay. So be the opposite of our father, like our older brothers, our uncles. Like don't be like them.
Because it's a binary thinking.
You
We need
apply
think
to the
in
whole
spe-
character, but now you grow up. Oh, they have a lot of character traits that are good. They want you to keep their masculinity,
Yeah.
but also be in touch with your emotions. Whereas they were just all masculine, no emotion. Our generation, a lot of us went to drop the masculinity completely and become complete femboys.
We need to we need to think of that switch in a non-binary situation, like the men older than us, all stoic, all repressed, no emotion, and then
But they know how to fix a car
yeah.
and can do a lot
Now-
of handy shit around the house.
So we see don't do that, do this. So the opposite of that is be vulnerable, be soft, cry. But we can't think in binary terms. We need to think in spectrum. Oh, there's times where I need to be stoic. There's times where I need to change a tire. There's times where I need to cry. And there's
Sometimes I need
times
to be a
where
leader. I need to be tough. I need to like swallow my emotions for this moment to get through it.
Yeah.
But then I need to compartmentalize that, figure out and be in touch with my
Yeah.
emotions.
This can't be a one or the other thing. This has to be a fluid spectrum of where you can balance and where you need to be at different places at different situations.
And what I think a word choice we've used in more time that gets confused is we use the term emotional vulnerability. When I think and I think a lot when they say this, they're looking for emotional intelligence.
Okay. So before we go forward, let's break that down. What is the difference between vulnerability and emotional vulnerability and emotional intelligence?
Emotional vulnerability is literally just letting the emotions out, saying what they are, crying, just like being very open about it,
These are my emotions. Here they are. This is how I feel.
showing it on the outside.
Okay.
Emotional intelligence is feeling the emotions, understanding the emotions, but knowing how to direct the emotions.
Is there like a stoic approach to that?
Just it's kind of like meditation. Like you feel the feelings. Like this thing makes me sad. I know that I'm sad. This is why I am sad, but I don't necessarily need to cry about it.
It seems like emotional vulnerability with logic applied.
And I think what happens here is women use the term they want you to be emotionally vulnerable.
Right.
No, they want you to be emotionally intelligent. That doesn't mean they literally want you to cry in their laps.
Okay.
Because you came home and you had a hard day at work and you're just like, oh my God, it was so bad. And you just throw yourself on the couch and start screaming into a pillow. That drives me up thinking about it. Like, I get the visual is not great.
It shrills my nuts up. I
The
don't
visual
like
is not great seeing
Yeah.
a man just ugly crying.
And-
I get it.
and-
I get it. I get it in a sense. But like, the emotional intelligence thing here is like, so we've talked about before, like, women on statistically are more emotionally mature, I guess would be the word to say. They're more in touch with their emotions on average than men.
that. Okay.
But I would say, like you made the point earlier, women, because they go cry, they go regulate their emotions in that way.
They've had practice. They've done the reps.
But I would say they are more emotionally vulnerable more often.
yes.
They're more erratic with their emotions. They deal with different hormones than we deal with that make them more emotional and are prone to bigger mood swings.
Yes.
Men, even emotional men, on the surface, typically don't look that emotional. So you hear like, oh, he doesn't show anything. Some men, that's just like but like I get accused of that a lot, even though I'm a pretty emotional dude. But when I'm like in the zone doing my thing, I keep a pretty stoic appearance. And I've had people like say, oh, you seem like emotionless. It's like, I'm kind of, well, also I'm just zoning out sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's like, but inside I'm a torrent of emotions. But I identify my emotions. I always like, oh, why do I feel this way? Why? Oh, this is why. And I can read other people's emotions. So it's like, I'm usually kind of playing that little mental chess game, which is what that is, where it's like women are emotionally vulnerable and they might be a little erratic, have mood swings. If you are also being emotionally vulnerable, that means you just have two erratic people in the car. You have two feeling brains driving the car.
You can't have that.
So there's like, it's like the idea of emotional is when you pick your moments. And it's almost like this, like the concept of cross-sex mind reading, where like they want you to know how they feel so that you can act accordingly.
But I don't know. I can't read your mind. What?
Kind of. But emotional intelligence is kind of a way of like having a better grasp of your emotions, therefore other people's emotions, how you show up in the world. You have a choice in how you show up.
I feel this way. I need to act this way to counteract this feeling.
Yes.
Or working
and their feelings.
Or working with the emotions that I'm feeling now. This is the course of action I have to take.
Well, like right there. So, example, like your girlfriend comes home. She's had a terrible day at work. She's distraught. Mm-hmm. And let's say maybe you had a bad day also.
Yeah.
But if you're emotionally intelligent, you pick up on this. Okay, right now I need to keep it together and just be here for her. Like, I don't need to necessarily even fix the issue. That's a different issue we can do. But like, just hear her out. Keep calm. Don't make the situation worse. But if you are also being extremely emotionally vulnerable, which is, yeah, I had a bad day too, and then you're both just like, you might think that's cathartic.
That's an unstable environment.
But it's an unstable environment. So the idea, it could be, you could romanticize, oh, look, we're both just ugly crying together. This is so romantic. It's not a movie. Because biologically, we're going back to biology, the woman has a biological imperative to feel safe, secure. If I'm ugly crying in her moment of weakness, she doesn't feel secure.
Okay.
She's already, go back to the quote I got, she is admitting that she is emotionally erratic. She can't be a strong, stable emotional source for me. The only way this works is if I don't compound her emotional erraticness.
Okay. So I got a piece of marriage advice from one of our friends
Okay.
who is married. He
I
said,
would hope. You did say married friend, so I'd hope he's still married.
Marriage advice. Well, I was never married. Relationship advice from one of our married friends. If she's having a bad day and I'm good, I'm there for her. If I'm having a bad day and she's having a good day, she's there for me. If we're both having a bad day,
He's there for her.
I just shut up and be there for
Yeah,
her.
that's emotional intelligence.
Okay.
That's a prime example of what I'm trying to dictate here.
He
It's
said
like,
those are the
it is
three,
not. There is a
those are
double
the
standard.
those are the three scenarios that you can be. She's good, I'm bad, she there for me. She bad, I good, I'm there for her. We're both bad. Well, fourth option, we're both good, no problem. We're both bad, repress it today.
But that is displaying a double standard,
Yeah.
which is that, in that case, emotional vulnerability would be bad. That would just ignite a flame and turn that into a bigger thing.
Like his emotional
in that moment, his emotions
vulnerability.
don't matter as much. And he has to make that identification in this moment.
He has to turn off the vulnerability and turn on the emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's complicated. So I think people use those two words interchangeably.
But they're not.
They're not interchangeable.
They're different things.
There is
elements.
a time and a place for a man to cry.
And it's not when she's crying.
It's not when she is emotionally unstable. But in my case, there was never a moment for me to cry.
They were never stable enough for
There
you.
was never a moment for me to be able to let that out. So it was just
But see the thing, not all women.
Not all
Just
women.
not that woman.
It was that person.
It was that
In
person.
my dynamic. But I know there's a woman who would have a good day at work while I'm having the worst day of my life. Would not go piss on me while I'm down. I know they exist. I'm not trying to be because that's the thing. Men go down that red pill route. Once that
all
event
women,
happens to
yeah,
them,
all women do.
oh, they're all
no.
like this. They're all just vultures. They all just do this kind of shit.
But you do need that, even if there is that double standard. Like,
Teaches you that moment. It's a learning moment.
Yeah.
Gives you perspective.
but when it's
if
all,
you allow it.
But when all her days are bad days,
That's a bad situation.
That's a bad situation because that
Use
negates,
your emotional intelligence to
yeah,
find that out. Yeah.
because that negates the ability for you to have a bad day.
This is that you have literally emotional intelligence to identify this is a one-sided relationship.
Because you're allowed to have bad days.
You, as a man,
you're
you're allowed
allowed
to
to
be emotional. You're allowed to have a bad day.
Men are allowed
And
to
if
be
the
emotional.
woman you're with indicates that is not the case, maybe flip the script on her. Tell her that she's not very emotionally intelligent.
It's not. That's
It
not
is
very
not.
emotionally
Women do not
intelligent.
have the, all the stocks on emotional intelligence.
No,
That
we're
is-
allowed to have some too.
Yeah. Men are not all dumb apes.
Some of us. We have
of us
our
are.
moments. We have our moments.
But yeah, where are we on time?
We are at a time.
Okay.
Where
I'm gonna get into Barbie.
Oh God. Can we go to Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House? I should have seen it sooner. I should have been on the front curve of that.
I watched
wanted
it
to.
right at the right time. I was not planning on watching that before this, and then I watched that movie, and it's like, wow, this fits right in to what I'm talking
perfect
about.
time. Yeah, we both watched it. What, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
In the midst of creating.
and
this
changed my whole
content.
rubric for this. What are your thoughts? You get some stuff, and I'll.
My thought, what I got out of the movie.
Yeah, what was the message you took away from it? Because like I said, I knew going into it, it wasn't a surprise to me that it was going to be like, because I knew like all the Ben Shapiro types and shit were all like really worked up about it when it came out.
When Ben Shapiro got all worked up about it, I was like, I definitely need to go check this out.
I need to see why my fellow men are getting so upset about this Barbie movie.
What is going on in this Barbie movie.
But then when I walked away, kind of how I thought, I'm like, oh, I'm actually not upset.
Where the hell is it in my notes? Okay. I'm just going to read my notes directly, and then you can ask me to expand here and there if need be.
Go for it.
The Barbie, to me, my take on it, I might have missed something. I might have looked into something, but this is what I got out of it. The Barbie movie explains there's a need for men and women to work together in society, coexist to have a functional society. Whenever we saw when the women were ruling Barbie land, like, yeah, everything looked cool and functional and everything was neat and orderly, but the men were consistently looking for purpose and having existential crises.
Yeah.
Whenever Ken came back and implemented the patriarchy, there was graffiti everywhere, there was trash everywhere, shit was off. It was a frat party.
Beer brewskis everywhere.
Beer brewskis, bro. Beer brewskis and Ken's Mojo.
Beer brewskis,
Mojo
beach
Dojo
offs
Casa
everywhere.
Beach me off. You want to beach me off?
Beaching each other off. It was crazy.
So the Barbie movie explains that there is a need for men and women to work together and coexist to have a functional society. Then I guess I expanded a step further. Whether the divide is racial, gender-based, socioeconomical, etc., whatever, we need different people from different walks of life working together to create a society functional for all of us. The American dream, the melting pot.
We don't work if anyone is being treated like a second-class citizen.
Well, that's the second note. Treating any group as a second-class citizen will always end up disastrous.
That was how I interpreted that movie. I did not, because I feel like when it came out, people were saying it was like men hating or men bashing.
Yeah, I
didn't get that. Like, it's comical, and yes, it makes fun of men, but like, this is where you have to read into things and take the message and the arc that Ken goes through in that. And like,
well, okay, so like the beginning of the movie is, women run everything. Look at this utopia.
basically, they switch
then
roles. They switch roles of what like women are. They have been at different points in our society.
Yeah.
The men in this are basically cheerleaders.
But women before the
The women they're running
before civil rights
politics, running
starts.
businesses, they're doing everything, and the men just walk around with their shirts off, cheering on the Barbies. It's like 1950s America, but role reversed.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, so then when he goes to the real world and he sees that men, he's so stoked that men run things. It's almost like the idea of like when women got power, it's like, oh, cool, we can do what the men do.
We can implement the major.
But Ken was like, oh, we can do what women do. It is role reverses.
Yeah.
But you see that, and like it sheds a lot because the Barbies then realize like they're subjugating the Kens basically.
Yeah, they didn't realize. They were just like, everything's working smoothly. Let's just continue on.
Yeah.
Let's
They were
move
just kind of
forward
doing what
with
the
this.
patriarchy has done in the past and at different times in different ways, but just role reverse and covering everything in pink. So like, I don't think that movie is painting Barbie Land to be like this utopia. It's like a delusion.
Well, that was the thing. It was like the beginning of the movie was, look at Barbie Land. This is a utopia because it is run by women. And then you slowly start to see, well, it's not because the men are suppressed. And then it flips. And then the men ruin everything. Well, they can't run it together by themselves. It has to be a cooperative effort. You need a little of this, you need a little of that. You need a little country and a little rock and roll.
Yeah, I like that.
South Park quote.
But I like, yeah, because but they deal a lot with expectations. Because like the women in the real world like inform Barbie that like how in a way she contributed to like patriarchy.
When the daughter grills her, at,
Yeah,
like
she's like,
lunchtime
no,
or whatever.
you have given us these unrealistic expectations, and it set us up for disappointment. But it's also what is happening to the Kens in Barbie Land.
Yeah.
They're being set up to like their full expectation is to get Barbie to love them, and then when Barbie doesn't, they have no other sense of purpose. then their expectations are shattered because they
It can
aren't.
never be because what's the one quote he said? Barbie says at the end whenever they're like coming to the realization and compromising, it's just like, yeah, okay, like every night doesn't have to be girls' night.
Yeah.
Because like in the beginning, Ken was trying to come over. He's like, "You think I could come over and spend a night?" And she's like, "For what?" I don't know. Well, it's a girls' night, but every night's girls' night.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, she's just like, every night doesn't have to be girls' night.
Yeah. And whenever they come back to Ken, it's every night's boys' night.
Yeah. It's
They're in their
Mojo
Dojo
Casa
Casa
House.
house, drinking beer brewskis and worshiping horses.
Horses are just men extenders.
I thought when I got to the real world that horses ran the government, but really horses are just male extenders. Oh, taking notes.
Hey, I'm going to go to the library, see if I can find a book about trucks. God.
I fully recommend that
I
movie.
fully recommend going to see the Barbie movie if you haven't. It's on HBO Max.
I wanted to make the thing work because I do believe the critique it made on men is actually very poignant and like gets through here about male vulnerability and expectations. So a lot of men adopt identities purely out of a desire for validation and attention from women, especially modern men who probably didn't have very emotionally available parents. Mm-hmm. This puts, and we already talked about how, men have been told almost by culture to be more vulnerable now in this generation.
Yeah.
But who did we learn that from? We just learned to be the opposite. But especially modern men who probably didn't have emotionally available parents. This puts unrealistic expectations and pressure on women, but coincidentally makes the man feel hollow, for he is not being his authentic self, which also makes him less attractive to the women. An authentic man who is self-validating is more attractive than a man who compromises himself or suppresses his true emotions with just the intent of being more likable. Both sexes lose in this scenario. The woman is with an inauthentic man, and the man is playing a character that will eventually cause him to become bitter and unfulfilled. He'll run himself ragged to keep getting validation, but will never feel validated internally, which will lead to resentment, and resentment is what kills relationships. Their whole purpose is like, make women like me.
Yeah.
I'm going to make my personality into something likable for women, which coincidentally kind of makes them not likable.
Is that why all the Barbies were turned off from all the Kens?
Yeah, they didn't actually, because they knew that.
Yeah.
It's
like,
intrinsic to Ken.
Is it the, I know I could have him at any moment.
Yeah.
So I don't want it.
Yeah. And then he has a realization after the meme, I'm Knuff.
Yeah.
But it's like a joke, but she's like, kind of like, that's him, like, you have to self-validate.
Yeah.
You are enough as an actual individual. You don't have to just be like my cheerleader.
You are enough as your own individual.
You can validate yourself. You don't need me to validate you. And like I could be interpreting this all wrong, but these are the messages I got. I don't think it was toxic towards men.
No.
That's what I think a lot of people in the internet. Oh, it's so.
That's empowering.
I took it as empowering.
It's like you like Ken doesn't need Barbie's approval. He's enough. Ken is enough.
But I'm also a man who's going through this journey of like I went through the male Canaan event. Mm-hmm. I'm emotionally intelligent, working on my shit. So I'm not feeling insecure. So me watching a movie that is poking fun at insecure men isn't really bothering me or triggering me.
Oh, so is it?
It's like everyone was that Ken at some point.
Yeah.
I think the idea is every
Ken.
guy goes through that like toxic male Ken phase where you just want female attention.
Yeah.
And you will turn into the dude bro who thinks Matchbox 20 is the deepest band on the planet and drink beer brewskis with your friends. And just so women will think you're likable.
Yeah.
But that's not who you actually are. You're just playing a character.
Yeah, you can't play that character.
But I think some people never get out of that zone. So the people I think who are getting triggered are
stuck there.
Stuck in this Arrested Development Ken phase.
Playing Matchbox 20 on guitar at Barbie.
Like, listen, I like Matchbox 20, but that's so funny.
I have a
They're
whole new
obsessed with
appreciation.
Matchbox 20.
I have a whole new appreciation now. Wanna push you around.
It's a good song.
It is a good song.
I'm going to go on a Matchbox 20 kick. But yeah.
Thinking about horses.
Is there anything else on the Barbie talk?
I don't know. I'm kind of like reviewing the movie.
Because I think that's just kind of what.
No, I think it just shows. To me, it should like there are like a lot of the other things that like you need to self-validate. You need to be enough for yourself, not
Enough.
You need to be enough for yourself, not just enough to get Barbie's attention. It takes men and women and everyone from different walks of life to have a functional society. Even when they got weird Barbie, because she was kind of like ostracized
Yeah.
for a while. But then once she got into the mix, helped save the
She
day.
was a vital part of the plan.
She's a vital part of that. So we need to be enough for ourselves. We need men and women and everyone from all different walks of life to have a functional society. Matchbox 20 is awesome. Horses are awesome. Beer brewskis are awesome. And I think I need to buy a Chevy Trailblazer. That's what I got out of that.
Nice.
That whole the car chase scene was
Yeah.
a fucking Trailblazer. Was that a Trailblazer?
I don't know.
It was a Chevy. I know that because they showed me the emblem enough.
I don't know.
Like it was literally shot in commercial
I didn't
format.
get a book on trucks at the library, so I don't know.
I'm gonna see if I can find a book on trucks. God, this is good. It was good, and if you get triggered, you need to work on being enough for yourself.
I think it's a litmus test.
Oh, was that it?
Like I think Barbie's a litmus test for men.
Oh, that I didn't come into this thinking that now, but now I think it is. If you get triggered by the Barbie movie, you're not enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
But
enough.
I said I think people go into this idea that they're in that point where they're in their Mojo Dojo Casa house.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like simulating them going through their kind of like red pill phase.
Yeah, I mean, I lived at a Mojo Dojo Casa house for a while.
We had a phase like that. And I think what it's trying to say here is like, if you get through that part and you start to like have these events happen and you get in touch with your emotions, you can find out on the other side that you don't have to keep going down this like misogynistic, like woman hating rabbit hole of like everyone's
Yeah.
out to get you.
There's not a need for that.
You don't have to do this.
It's
You
not
can, if
reality.
you find out who you actually are and quit playing a character,
Be your authentic
you
self.
will attract people of similar integrity and quality, and you don't have to like be alone.
Yeah.
That's friends, relationships, these people who will allow you to be vulnerable.
Because then what's the flip side of that? You play this character, you play the dude bro to get the girl. And now you got the girl.
You gotta keep playing the character.
Now you got to play the character forever.
Yeah. That's what happens.
No.
I think that's why we're seeing such a huge divorce rate right now.
I
I think the mask is coming off, and these people who have been in like long-term relationships who like got together at a certain point, where one or both people were maybe playing a character,
yeah.
and now it's like I can't keep this up anymore.
Oh, well, my authentic self is not compatible with your authentic self.
Yeah.
It's always cliche and it always goes over people's head, but it's like, oh, I like this girl. What do I say to her? And people just go up and be yourself. Like, well, that's not gonna fucking work. Like, what do I do? What do I say to her? But everyone overthinks that and overlooks that of just go up and be yourself. If she doesn't like,
you have
if she
to
doesn't,
reframe the rejection into being good, then I don't have to fake it.
yeah, you just filtering it out.
Yeah.
It's not rejection. It's filtering out
filtering.
people who are not compatible.
Like if that person doesn't accept me for my weird quirkiness, then I guess it wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
If I had to get that person by pretending to be more charming or more this than I actually am, then I'm committing to having to keep that up. That's a level of stress that just builds and builds and builds and builds. And then eventually you can't keep up anymore. Then like she's locked in, sunken cost fallacy.
Yeah.
And then you're like both in this, like, it's like, oh, this is not what I really signed up for.
Now you're in a 2-year marriage, and now you got to figure out who's keeping the house and who's taking the
Because one or both of you were
2023 Chevy
playing
Trailblazer.
characters or, settling.
But who gets the 2023 Chevy
That's the
Trailblazer
important question.
with eco fuel boost and inline six? I'm really thinking about a fucking Trailblazer.
I can
now.
tell it's on your mind.
I'm thinking about horses. I don't know. Anything else? Or we cover everything? Do we have all the
I think we
information?
covered for the most part. Everything else over here is kind of like a
I think we're good on the Barbie movie.
lot of, like I said, this blog was a tome. I really, for the first time out of all these, I really suggest go read the blog.
I mean, I always suggest read the blog.
I feel like this one, because it's
Yeah.
the longest one I wrote, and I knew it was gonna be hard to get it all out just on this. But I think we got the gist of it, and a lot of it's just like dealing with these things because what we're ultimately leading up to is we're gonna talk about incels, red pill culture,
the opposite of this.
which is like when you don't work on your emotions and you just impulsively react erratically, in a way you are being emotionally vulnerable, I think, if you go down the red pill rabbit hole. Because you are just letting your emotions
when you
dictate.
decide to make the Mojo Dojo Casa House your permanent residence,
Yeah. When you don't leave that area.
that'll be the next topic of discussion on the next episode. But the Mojo Dojo Casa House, you can visit, you can stay there, you can get a year lease. I had a couple years lease.
I talk about here the concept they have called like the lonely chapter for men, which a lot of times like that's when you find yourself because you aren't trying to impress anybody. You have to learn because they say a lot of men have this like response where I do have all this love to give. I just don't know where to put it.
Yeah.
Think of the Kens. They have all this love for Barbie, and that's where they want to put it. But what they're not doing is putting it into themselves.
Right.
So the idea is when you're lonely, you're forced to be more introspective. If you're not chasing after a woman or chasing after this, you're just alone with you and your thoughts, which is scary and could possibly lead to red pill because you find a community that will welcome you in and like confirm your biases.
Yeah.
Or it leads to the fucking suicide route that we opened with. But the other third option is you get in touch with your actual self and you develop as a person, then you come to the other side better for it.
No, I definitely had that phase, especially because when I was by myself, I ended up deciding I need to be comfortable with myself.
Yeah.
And
You can't be comfortable with somebody else if you aren't comfortable with yourself.
Exactly. And at the time, I was physically by myself because I had taken a position in the city. So I was living by myself and isolated and
From people you know.
yeah, from people I know. It's still
You're
plenty
actually
of
surrounded by
people
more
around.
people.
Yeah, I was surrounded by more people.
Which is a
but
weird feeling.
Yeah, felt more disconnected. But it's like in that perfect scenario, it was like, okay, I did need to find myself. I do need to love myself. I do need to rationalize some things and get comfortable with myself and figure some things out.
Be comfortable.
And I did.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
I'm uncomfortable being comfortable.
Yeah. That's actually a struggle I think a lot of people have that they don't think of. That's the term of phrase, like get comfortable being uncomfortable. I think a lot of people struggle being comfortable. I know I do.
Yeah.
I'm almost at that point where I'm like trying to balance that, but a lot of me was like I'm feeling too comfortable. I never used to have this. Now it's like, oh, I'm getting a little too comfortable.
Complacency sucks.
Yeah, but it's like learning what's complacency or what's you being hyper vigilant. And it's like, oh, I'm trying to balance that right now. Like, am I being complacent or am I just fucking really on the watch for shit I don't really need to be?
You can't answer the call of opportunity if your phone is on silent, if your ringer's on vibrate.
Did you just make that up?
No, I heard. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, that was me.
We should end on that wisdom.
Should we high five right now?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yay.
I'm going to go see if there's any books about trucks in the library.
Hey, you do that.
And I'm going to check it out at the clinicallyaveragepodcast.com.
I want to see your blog post about it, your review of the horse book.
Truck book.
You said horses.
Horse truck.
How many horsepowers? Hey.
Hey.
This is the content you waited for.
Son of a bitch. Okay, go bye.
Bye.
Wicked.
I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed when we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew